From John in Dearborn Heights, first pick, and Doug takes Turner. Doug's drafting like he's a proud executive for the Atlanta Falcons. Gator won because Doug choked. That's from John in Dearborn Heights.
Oh.
What scared me off of Bates, and I thought Bates was the easy answer, but he made 75% of his kicks. And that would tie him for 32nd in the NFL amongst active kickers. He's got to be better than that. He's got the big leg. I wouldn't be surprised, I said this earlier, if they actually kept two kickers or tried to keep two kickers. A long guy and maybe a kickoff specialist and then a short, accurate guy, which would come down. If they go long guy, it would be Jake Bates. He's got the strongest leg of the three of them. Turner was accurate beyond 50. He didn't have any beyond 60. He did make one beyond 50 that I remember being healthy in terms of how far up the goalpost it was. So he might have that in his card, or that club in his bag, I should say. In the meantime, he was the talk of camp. But he's got to be able to prove it and prove it with the lights on. So does Jake Bates. Badgley has at least kicked in an NFL game. Neither Bates nor Turner has. But ultimately, here's the question. The competition is healthy, right? They should be better at the kicking spot. I mean, Badgley could get better as well. And in terms of if Badgley gets beaten out by one of these guys that's got a stronger leg, do you think in any way it changes Dan Campbell's approach to fourth downs? Because last year, the Lions went for it on fourth down, I believe it was 40 times. I swear I took that. Yeah, here it is. 40 times they went for it on fourth down, the second most in the NFL. They converted 52.5% of those, which is the 11th most in the NFL. Do they go for it less, or does this not impact Dan Campbell's decision-making at all?
I think it'll impact his decision-making if he feels confident that whoever wins the kicking job, and let's just assume it's somebody new, that it's one of the two big legs, whether it's Bates or Turner, even though it could be Badgley, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say it's one of the bigger legs. I think it absolutely will change a decision. They're not going to change the identity of who they are when it's like 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3. That kind of stuff still makes sense. Well, you go for it. It's what the analytics will tell you to do. Go ahead. But when you've got like 4th and 5 or 4th and 4, and it's staring you in the face, or you've got the opportunity to try to hit a 55-yard field goal or 58-yard field goal, I think that instead of going for it, you bring in the kicker.
I'm not sure it changes anything Dan Campbell does. And
you're wrong.
I don't think he's stubborn. I think he is who he is. I think it's part of why the team loves him. And if he has a stronger kicker, the thing about it is the only time that really forces his hand to kick the field goal is at end of game situations. If you need an end of game field goal to win it, and you're looking at 4th and 8, and your kicker had to be a 57-yard field goal, I don't think he would try it with Badgley. I think he would try it with the other two. So I don't think it changes anything strategic that happens in the first 29 minutes and 50 seconds of the half, or the first 59 minutes and 50 seconds of the game. I think in the last minute of the game, it could change things.
Then why sign a kicker to 2 years?
I find it very curious. I said it from moment one. I find that to be very curious.
So that's what puts it over the edge for me. You sign a guy because he's got the leg to do it, and that'll be a game changer during the course of the season.
I mean, maybe they'll be willing to. Maybe they said we'd be willing to eat the money. We'll sign you the longest contract, but we're willing to do it because we think you'll win this job. And that's how they won him over. And so he might have said to them, "Hey, I'm going to Washington." And they said, what if we give you a 2-year deal? That might be why they did it.
I think another thing you could see is because the defense is so vastly improved, does that make them feel even more confident? We can try a 57-yard field goal, 59-yard field goal, because we think our defense is good enough to stuff them anyway. Like if we miss, we're going to take it. Now we've got a guy who's got the leg to kick.
Yeah, but if you go for it and don't get it, you have this. You put your team.
I get it, but you're definitely getting points this way.
Kang, do you think it changes Dan Campbell in any way?
I think slightly. He's gonna have to have that confidence to you. I think last year when they decided to go for it on 4th and 2 against the Niners in the playoff game, he turned down a 45-yard field goal. That's not a crazy long field goal. In fact, Badgley hit a 50-plus yarder in the playoffs. Different stadium, of course, and different situation, but he can kick a 45-yard field goal. I think that was total game situational for Dan Campbell, and I think that's what he's going to do moving forward. I think unless he has Justin Tucker back there, and unless this is late in the season where if Bates is the kicker and he's clearly shown 50-plus is no problem for him and he's made it consistently, I think Dan Campbell just sticks to what he knows, and it's in his DNA, and this is how this team is. They will go for the kill shot, or they will go for, the stranglehold when they can, because he believes in the team, and that's just the personality of the team. Everyone always says, what's your DNA, what's your personality, how do you guys play? I think this is how they play. They follow their head coach.
I agree. And at this point, and we said it a bunch last year, and I'm going to say it again, I think it would be healthy for fans to learn to accept it, because it's part of their culture now, and it's working so much better than anybody else's culture there's ever been in Detroit. That having a head coach that consistently tells his offense, I believe that you're going to convert this, and we've got a plan, and we think we're going to get it. And consistently telling your defense, I believe in you getting. Now, he's not sending a message to the kicker that I believe in you. He's saying, I believe in my guys. We're going to get this done. And it feels like since he has taken over, and since Brad Holmes has taken over, it's been a complete 180 on this team's culture. So I don't want Dan Campbell to change to appease the critics. I don't want Dan Campbell to change what his gut's telling him to do, because I think what his gut is telling him to do has worked so well so far that I hope he keeps it up.
Yeah, I don't want him to change who he is, but if you've got personnel that proves that they can do things that you couldn't do before, then that might alter your thinking of what you would do. Now, he's got to prove it, though. That's the thing. Don't just think that Jake Bates, because he made a bunch of 60-yard field goals with the Michigan Panthers, that all of a sudden that's going to translate to the NFL. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame when you got packed stadiums and all the pressure. It's a totally different kind of pressure. And he's got to make the team still. I know they signed him to a 2-year deal, but you got to beat out 2 other guys for that job. And those 2 guys are pretty good kickers themselves. Ultimately, you're going to go with the guy who's the most accurate. And to your point, if he only made 75% of the kicks, that's not good enough. That's bottom of the NFL. You got to be better than that. And I know you got a big leg, but you have to be better than that.
And Jake Bates is young enough that he could get better.
Sure, 100%. And I mean, because he hasn't been place kicking for all that long. He was a soccer player. So now that, like I said before, he's got a full training camp to go with. He's got this full off season where he knows going into training camp that this is my job. I just signed a contract. I'm going to be out to high school kicking all day long.
Kang, anything else on this?
No, in a perfect world, you want a kicker. He can make the short field goals, the intermediate field goals, and the long field goals.
You want Jason Hansen?
Sure. You want, the best kicker there ever was, right? But what if it comes out of camp and you have a guy who's good with the shorter field goals and you have another guy who's good with the longer field goals? What way do you guys lean for this team?
Like I said, do they try and keep them both? Brad Holmes said he might try and roster 3 kickers, which is pretty amazing. I don't know how you can do that. It would be practice squad. You'd have to get guys onto the practice squad. I'd probably keep the short kicker based on the head coach's personality.
Gator?
I'd go with the most accurate kicker of the bunch.
Okay, but
no.
well,
accurate from short, or the guy with the stronger leg but not as accurate?
Accurate from short.
Okay. Yep. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I would, because then the longer stuff, I mean, he just continues to go for it. You're right. Yeah. I mean, this is just what we've been living with.
The NFC Championship game, and so do the shorter kicks.
Because I think you'd be more frustrated as a fan if a guy misses like these 38-yarders, and those are supposed to be points.
100%.
And you can kind of live with that. All right, he missed a 54-yarder. That's not a guarantee. But you want the stuff that's a layup. That's a layup.
Yeah.